Yudhishthira, the eldest of the Pandava brothers, was known for his adherence to dharma, or righteousness. He was a virtuous and compassionate king, and he always strove to do the right thing. However, even the most righteous person can face moral dilemmas, and Yudhishthira was no exception. One of Yudhishthira's most famous moral dilemmas is known as the Yamadharmaraja test. After the Pandavas had won the Kurukshetra war, they were required to visit Yama, the god of death, to prove their worthiness to rule. Yama put Yudhishthira through a series of tests, each of which challenged his understanding of dharma. One of the most difficult tests was when Yama asked Yudhishthira to choose between his own life and the lives of his 4 brothers. Yudhishthira was torn between his duty as a king to protect his people and his duty as a brother to love and care for his siblings. In the end, Yudhishthira chose to sacrifice his own life for the sake of his brothers. However, Yama was impressed by Yudhishthira's selflessness and his commitment to dharma. He allowed Yudhishthira to choose his brothers' lives instead, and he also blessed Yudhishthira with a long and prosperous reign. Despite passing the Yamadharmaraja test, Yudhishthira continued to struggle with moral dilemmas throughout his life. After the war, he was deeply troubled by the fact that he had been forced to kill so many of his own relatives and friends. He also felt guilty for having broken his vow to never gamble. Yudhishthira's moral dilemmas were further compounded by the fact that he was now king. As king, he had to make difficult decisions that could have far-reaching consequences for his people. He often felt overwhelmed by the weight of his responsibility, and he questioned whether he was truly worthy of being king. One of Yudhishthira's most difficult decisions came after he had ascended to the throne. He was approached by a group of sages who demanded that he punish the Pandavas for their role in the Kurukshetra war. The sages argued that the Pandavas had committed the sin of patricide and fratricide, and that they should be punished accordingly. Yudhishthira was torn between his duty as a king to uphold the law and his loyalty to his brothers. He knew that the sages were right, but he also knew that punishing the Pandavas would be a heavy burden to bear. In the end, Yudhishthira decided to exile himself and his brothers from the kingdom. Yudhishthira's moral dilemmas highlight the challenges of living a righteous life in a world that is often unjust. He was a man who was deeply committed to dharma, but he also had to make difficult choices that sometimes conflicted with his own beliefs. Yudhishthira's struggles with the consequences of his decisions show that even the most virtuous person can be tempted to compromise their morals when faced with difficult circumstances. However, Yudhishthira's story also teaches us that it is possible to overcome moral dilemmas and emerge stronger on the other side. Through his trials and tribulations, Yudhishthira learned to distinguish between right and wrong, even when the lines were blurred. He also learned the importance of forgiveness and compassion. Yudhishthira's story is a reminder that we should never give up on our ideals, even when faced with difficult challenges. It also teaches us that it is important to be willing to learn from our mistakes and to grow as individuals.